Good morning. My name is Nathan DeYoung.
I'm Jessica Golden.
And my name's Casey Smith.
And we are students from Ball State University, previous scholars of the Louis Englehart Journalism Scholars Program from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. Now, you might be wondering, what is the Louis E. Englehart Journalism Scholars Program? Well, it's a program in which freshman students at Ball State University have the opportunity to participate in a program that identifies them as potential leaders in journalism and related fields. 15 students gather together in this class that meets once a week over a year period that's only 2 credit hours. But to start today's presentation off for the Facing Project, we have a quick video clip to show you.
Wish TV with news around the clock, online, on air, and on the go. Now, 24-hour News 8 at 6 continues.
Connecting people through stories to strengthen communities. That's the purpose behind the Facing Project.
Yeah, it started as a one-time project in Muncie. It's now grown into an international movement. And as 24-hour News 8's Chris Bavender tells us, a group of Ball State students is leading the charge for change.
Alrighty. So, the Facing Project is a national umbrella organization. We kind of touched on that. And so they connect people through stories to strengthen communities. That's the motto, of course. So what they do is organize groups of people, different places throughout the country, and they gather to tell the stories of certain stigmatized social issues in the community. So past Facing projects have included facing homelessness, facing sex trafficking, facing addiction, things like that. They've been featured on NPR, NBC, WIPB, and the HuffPost. They're really growing as an organization very quickly, actually, and there's a lot of different Facing projects popping up in college campuses all over the place. So, moving into our iteration of the Facing Project, Facing Depression. I am a junior advertising major, so you might be wondering how I fit in with a storytelling type of project. Well, I was able to learn to use my skills to sell the heart and soul of what we're doing using both the visual and written word.
And I'm a telecommunications, news, and meteorology major, so you might be wondering, how does that fit into a project like this? I served as a writer on the project, and that allowed me the ability to broaden my skills as a potential journalist to make sure that I'm developing the skills to share the stories in a proper way. But I also served as a community advocate for the project. I worked with the Building Better Communities program, but we also worked with on-campus organizations like the All-Campus Leadership Conference, where we showcased the project, and worked with High School J-Day, in which we shared the project there too.
Yeah, so I'm a journalism news major, so I also, as Nathan did a lot of writing for the project. That was my main kind of job that I had, and then I also helped do a lot of the community work, working with community partners. And after the Facing Depression project, I went on to work with 3 other Facing projects. I'm currently working with Facing Cancer, which is this year's Englehart Scholars project. So it's definitely been very impactful for me, and this is something that I would like to continue doing while at Ball State and then beyond, definitely.
Yeah, so our next thing that we wanted to do is showcase you our project goals that we came up with. And our first project goal that we came up with was that we wanted to strengthen the community through the stories. We felt that was very important to this project as a whole. You might notice that kind of reflects what the Facing Project is all about. It's the same core values that the Facing Project is based on. Our second project goal that we came up with was we wanted to give a voice to those living with depression. We knew that it was extremely important that our community knew who was living with depression and what they could do to potentially help themselves through the stories of others. And our third and final goal of our project was to reach and connect with the audience in a new way. We knew that we wanted to produce a book, and we knew that we wanted to connect with our audience in a new, innovative way. And that's ultimately what we did with the Facing Project.
All right, so you might be asking what makes this project particularly unique compared to like a traditional news story, because we do tell stories. There is an emotional connection with the reader, and this can be accomplished with traditional journalism, pretty easily. However, this is unique because we are making it community oriented. It is for the community. We are making the connections, and the stories are all told from a first person perspective. So it really starts to forge that connection with the reader that some stories really just can't.
So this Facing project and all others work in a very unique way, like Jessica said. Writers and community members are brought together to tell these stories. The storytellers tell their stories to the writers, and the writer's job is to tell that story, like she said, through a first-person perspective. And then in that process, the group kind of working to organize the project works with community partners, which we'll talk about in a second, and then that's kind of how the project gets rolling and how you're able to promote it and get it out to the people in the community.
Yeah, so we bridged it together by having the process of having writers and storytellers paired, and that's a great segue into like what we're going to talk about in terms of target audiences. We knew that a natural fit audience for this project was Muncie, Indiana. Obviously, that was our hometown, where the university's based. That was our biggest impact where we wanted. But we also wanted to make sure that the book was designed to reach audiences abroad. We knew that depression wasn't just something happening in Muncie, Indiana. It's happening in communities all across the United States and even abroad. We wanted to make sure that our book also fit those audiences. And so our book is also under review in the Community Engaged Scholarship for Health program at the University of Minnesota at this moment.
So you might be asking yourself, why the community in this way? And we are here to tell you that every community does have some type of uniting common bond. And what we're trying to do is find it and sort of not exploit it, but utilize it in a way that we can start creating a community discourse and a dialogue for people to start talking about these issues that aren't usually covered in such a very public way. So when it comes to putting this project together, how it kind of works is we went to partners in the community and we talked to them to gather storytellers, the people who are going to tell the writers their stories. Ultimately, members from our scholars class were writers, and we also had some other people from the university who contributed as writers as well. And so from that point, the writers and the storytellers are paired together, and these interviews take place. And these are very non-traditional interviews that go on. You meet with your storyteller several different times. These are interviews that are going to last several hours long. It's very like social journalism, like put your pencil down journalism, where you just listen and you work with the storyteller to tell the story the way that they want it to be told, because ultimately it is their story. So that's kind of how that process works.
Yeah, so now we need to talk a little bit more about the financial backing to this project. Every project has to have some type of basin to it to make sure that it gets off the ground. And we did have a lot of support from the university, but also our community. Just looking at the overview of the budget up there, we had about $1,000 come from our Building Better Communities program at Ball State University. That's a program on campus that supports immersive learning projects that happen on campus and makes sure that they are connected with the community in an appropriate manner through a monetary donation. Then we also received about $500 from our College of Communications and Information Media, which is CCIM, on the budget. And then we received $250 from the Department of Journalism and English. And then we also held a GoFundMe campaign that showcased on social media, in which we asked for crowdsourced funding for the project as a whole. And then the $272 came from a project that we worked on inside the book. If you look inside the book, if you have one, on page 42, we stuck envelopes inside the books that debuted at the event, in which we asked for monetary donations at the event to support our project and further the completion. In the end, we wanted that the monetary donations be used to potentially print more books to supply out to the community and audiences abroad there.
So like I said, I'm an ad student, so promotion was a big part of this project for me. We hit really hard on social media to try to reach out to both the Ball State and the Muncie communities. We had the students in the Engelhardt Scholars class tweet out facts and information on a really regular basis. We got to utilize print media for both on campus and in the community as well, which is particularly effective for Muncie. Some people have limited access with that. And then we also were able to post blogs written by the Engelhardt Scholar students. And as the project finished, we also posted our stories on there. And we also went the PR route pretty hard and sent out a lot of press releases and tried our best to get some news coverage for this, which was actually very successful.
So this might sound like it takes a really long time to do. In this case, we started planning in October of 2014, but we actually commenced the project in January of 2015. And from that point, we had about 4 months to match the storytellers and the writers, to get the stories written, to have the community event planned out, and then to actually have the community event. So between January and April of 2015 is when this project took place. So it definitely took a lot of planning, but it was very doable to do in that amount of time. So yeah, the 4 months during that time, you would match your storytellers and your writers. They would have about 4 to 6 weeks to produce the story, to have it vetted by their storyteller, and then to have it turned back in so the book could be printed.
Alrighty, so after we get our stories written, there was about a 2-week book design turnaround time, and then we, were able to get it printed, and then the book lives now in the members of the community. We were able to distribute it at a showcase event, but it's also at the offices of local mental health professionals. It's at our Ball State Counseling Center, and it's also at the Muncie Public Library. So that was our final deliverable, our book, but there was also a community showcase event. We kind of been touching on that, so I'll explain it a little bit more for you. We, at the Muncie, a local small theater, had a monologue reading of selected stories from Facing Depression. Members of the community were invited, members of Ball State were invited, and overall it was a very moving event for people to see the stories displayed in such a way. And then, also for those who were brave enough to tell their stories to be able to go out and see the final project was actually pretty amazing. And so beyond the book and beyond the showcase, there was, the Facing Project. Where is it now? Well, in the Englehart Scholars does do a Facing Project every year now. And this year they're tackling facing cancer, and a lot of us, Casey, are going back to write the stories and to help and to keep the Facing Project alive. So what this does is creates a facing community at Ball State for us, and it's living and it's breathing and it's growing.
Yeah, so if this is something you want to learn more about, we'd be more than happy to talk to you after today's presentation about more of the logistical details behind putting together a Facing Project. We also want to point you in the direction, if you Google search the Facing Project, they have lots of resources on their website that are available to you too. We also have our Twitter handles up here, so feel free to tweet at us any questions that you may have. Other than that, thank you for your time, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.